Hi, I'm Marshall. I'm the owner of Going Gear. This is the extended review of the Armytek Predator Pro and Viking Pro. So here we are with some different variations of the Predator and the Viking. We have the Predator, we have the Predator Pro, we have the Viking, we have the Viking Pro, and you have cool white, you have warm white, you have a bunch of different variations that you can get. And we're going to talk about the differences between all of those. All of these are cool white. You can watch some of my other videos if you want to see the difference between cool white and warm white. All it is the tint and slightly lower output, but the same functions and everything like that. So let's move these back a little bit. What I have here is the Viking Pro, and you get the same accessories and everything with all of these. So I'm just going to open one of them up. I got the batteries in the other three already. So here we have the Viking Pro. Armytek actually includes a really nice sheath. So a lot of times the sheath that manufacturers include is just a throwaway piece of junk, real thin nylon, doesn't hold up very well. But this is nice, thick, sturdy nylon. You've got good attachment points on the back. So you have the hook and loop and button to clasp on there. You know, you've got a couple different ways to attach it. You got a nice metal D-ring, covers and protects the light really well. Really nice sheath that they include, so it's nice to see companies doing stuff like that. So that's the sheath. Other stuff that you have in here, you have a pocket clip if you happen to want to use that. Obviously it's removable because it's not on there right now. You've got this little rubber ring right here, and what that is if you want to remove the combat grip ring, that goes on in place of that. So you can remove that if you want to, and then you have a spare boot cover tail cap switch if you ever need to replace that. Spare O-rings, really nice lanyard in there as well, silica packets. And user manual, warranty information, always worth the read. These are relatively advanced lights, have a bunch of good information in here, so it's worth taking a look if I can avoid knocking over everything. Got a little excited there. It talks about all the specs and the run times and the care and the interface and all that kind of stuff. So user manuals are always worth the read, especially Armytek's, because they do a good job. So just to give you an idea of the outputs on these, the Predator and the Predator Pro actually have the same output. I believe it's 640 lumens. Now I need to grab the manual from one of those because I forgot. So let's see, let's take a look. So you're 670 lumens for the cool white version, 640 lumens for the warm white version. And those are LED lumens, so actual ANSI outputs are going to be a little bit lower. And then for the Viking, you've got 850 lumens and then 760 lumens for the warm white. And this is where the Predator and the Vikings differ a little bit. The Viking actually has higher output than the Viking Pro. So you're at 1010 lumens and 900 lumens on the two different Viking versions for the cool white and the warm white. And of course they have lower outputs, and if you want to see all that in the run times, we have all that on the website, goinggear.com. Links down in the descriptions if you want to see that. So anyway, that's all the stuff that it comes with. And they all come with the same stuff again. So you get the same accessories and all that with all of these different versions. So let's take a look at the flashlights themselves. So here we have the Viking Pro. You notice if you get all the different versions, here's the Viking Pro, here is the, that's the Predator, here's the Viking. So you can see physically, they're pretty much the same light. The big difference that you're going to see between the Pro and the regular versions is the circuitry. So you get some more advanced circuitry, you get some better regulation on the Pro version, and you get some additional modes. So if you ever look at the runtime graphs of these, they're pretty cool. The step brightness that they had that they originally came out with their original Predator and Viking, if you look at the graph, it's pretty cool because it's a super flat line, and then it gets to a lower voltage, it drops, super flat line, drops, super flat line. And then with the Pro versions, their new Pro versions, you just get a super flat line the entire time. So really excellent regulation on this. If you look up on some of the forums, people have done like runtime graphs and all that kind of stuff. You can see how good the circuitry is in these lights. Really good runtime and just super flat regulation. So that's the difference between the Viking and the Viking Pro. And we'll talk about the minor differences that you get in the interface. Actually not minor, you do get some additional modes and some additional features and stuff like that. So you can see physically they're the same. Both of them have Cree XML2 LEDs in here. Again, slightly higher output on the Viking version versus the Viking Pro. Let's see if you can see the LEDs a little bit better. One thing you'll notice how deep the reflectors are. So super deep reflectors on this. That's how you get the impressive throw that you get on these different versions. So the Viking Pro, I believe, is rated for 250 meters, 300 meters on the Viking. And then the Predator Pro, you get well over 400 meters. And then the same on the Predator because you have the same output and everything on both of those different versions. Nice combat grip ring on there, so if you want to use this in conjunction with a handgun, you've got a nice rubber grip on there, so it's super grippy, doesn't really move around on you. Got the switch that protrudes a little bit on the end. You got the stainless steel bezel on both sides, so you've got it protecting from impact, and they actually coat it with a black coating, so it gives it a pretty cool look. Nice sleek finish to all of these. Another thing, we'll talk about the finish. I don't know how it shows up on camera, but that's actually a matte finish. So it's type 3 hard anodizing, and it's got kind of a really grippy texture to it. So a lot of flashlights out there, they whatever they do before they do the anodizing, it gives it a smooth texture. Well, they don't do that on the Armytek. They actually make it a pretty grippy texture. So it's got a really nice feel to it. Matte black appearance. Looks pretty cool, feels pretty cool. You got the stainless steel on both ends to protect from impact. So that's the Viking and the Viking Pro. We'll set those to the side. Let's take a look at the Predator and the Predator Pro. So there's the Predator. There's the Predator Pro. Again, physically the same lights. The only difference that you're going to see is going to be in the circuitry on these. And these two have the same outputs and everything. So you don't get the difference that you get like you do with the Vikings. Again, you can see how deep the reflectors are. So super deep reflectors. Cree XPG2 LED. You'll see better when we go outside. That gives it just a fantastic distance. It's a super concentrated beam, really tight hotspot, but it gives a really good distance, 400 plus meters that you can get in terms of the throw on these, which is impressive for lights this size. Again, you got the same combat grip ring, and you can remove that. So we'll just take off the tail cap, and you can see it does just pop off. It's a rubber, and you can slide it off if you want to, and that's what that other ring I showed you earlier was for. Just really good fit and finish on everything. You'll notice just some nice touches. Double O-rings down in there, so you've got double O-rings on both sides, so that gives these really good dust and water protection. Nice sturdy durable springs on there, so you get good contact. You get that really wide contact point instead of just the little piece of a spring that you normally have on lights. Lots of lubrication from the factory. I haven't put any lubrication on these, and you can see there's just a ton of lubrication on the threads and on the O-rings. Keep these things nice and tightly sealed. Just a lot of nice touches that you'll see on these flashlights, and you'll see that on all the different parts. People talk about the cheap flashlights you can get from Amazon and eBay, the ones that are making just the ridiculous claims. So what's the difference between these? It's quality and reliability. So how long is the light going to last? Is it going to work in the first place? I've ordered a lot of those lights, and I used to order them in triplicate because chances are one of them just flat out wouldn't work when I got it in the first place, and another one was going to fail before too long after I got it, and then the third one, maybe I get a little bit of time out of it. So that's the big difference you see between these quality manufacturers that have, they're not super inexpensive, they're not super expensive either, but a decent chunk of change you got to plunk down for around $100 on a light. But that's the big difference you'll see between the really cheap, just garbage manufacturers out there. So taking a look down in the head, that's another thing you'll notice between the good manufacturers and the not so good, is the care that they put on the stuff that you don't see when you're using the light. So you look on the inside of the head, you see clean solders, just good machining everywhere, just really tight tolerances on everything instead of just globs of solder everywhere and stuff out of place and poor seals and stuff like that. And Armytek does a really good job on all of that, just making everything really nice and well put together. Okay, so let's talk about batteries. If you ever forget, it's actually engraved on the light, so you don't have to really worry about forgetting it. So I'll take two CR123s, two RCR123s, which are the rechargeable lithium-ion batteries that are the size of the size of CR123s, or an 18650. I always recommend 18650s except for one certain situation. The one situation where I don't recommend it is if you're going to leave the light in storage or in your car or around your house or something like that, and you're not going to use it for really long periods of time, like 6+ months. And that's because CR123s have a 10-year shelf life. So you can leave the batteries in your light and it'll always be ready to go, for 10 years at least. Lithium-ion batteries do need to be charged every now and then, so that's the only drawback of them. But if you are going to be using it on a regular basis, I absolutely recommend the rechargeable lithium-ion 18650s, and it's because you can recharge them. CR123s, even if you're getting inexpensive ones, they get expensive when you start adding them up. And the high-quality rechargeable batteries like the Eagle Tax, you can get 500 or so charges out of these if you take care of them. So lots of charges you can get out of that. In the long run, it saves you a lot of money, and you always get the best runtime with 18650s, and a lot of times the same or higher output with 18650s. So anyway, that's batteries. So let's talk about the interfaces. So the Viking and the Predator have the same interface. Predator Pro and Viking Pro have the same interface. So we're just going to use the Predator and Predator Pro to show you the interfaces. So have the head tightened, lightly press, you have momentary, click it all the way for constant on, and this is the Predator, by the way. And as long as you're not touching the head, same output all the time. Now if you want to lower the output, you just loosen the head and you have some lower outputs. So turn it off and on, or just lightly press. You can see it'll cycle through your different outputs. And then you just click it all the way and you find the one that you want, and then if you tighten the head, it'll go right back to that max output. So that's the interface on the Predator and the Viking. Predator Pro and Viking Pro have a little bit of a different interface. So lightly press, you still have the momentary, click it all the way for constant on, loosen the head, and you have what's called the second line. So you see you get a little bit of a delay before it drops down, and I'll show you why here in just a second. This is actually still on. This is the lowest mode. They call this Moonlight, I think. Super low output, and with that great regulation that you have on these lights, fantastic battery life. So this is perfect for up close kind of stuff. You'll be able to see inside of a pack or inside of a tent, stuff that's up close to you. You'll be able to read. It's definitely a usable amount of light. It doesn't look like it, but it absolutely is. Sometimes it's actually too bright if your eyes have been adjusted to the darkness, and if you're looking at really up close things, it's definitely a usable amount of light. You have some other outputs in there as well, and the way to get to those, so if you have the head tightened, the way to get to the other head tighten modes, if you loosen and tighten the head, you see if you do that quickly, it'll cycle through the different outputs for that line. And the same thing with head loosens. So if you have the head loosened, you'll see it drop down, and then you tighten and loosen, and it'll go between the couple that you have. And the couple that you have are strobe and then the moonlight for the, I think they call it line 2 or head loosened modes. And you do have a memory for those. So if we have it in strobe and then we turn it off, we leave it off for a little bit and we turn it back on, it's going to go back into that strobe. And if you tighten the head, it'll be back into whatever you had it in last. So you have that max output in there. And then if you loosen it back, you can see after it drops into the other outputs, it'll go back into the strobe. So pretty cool interface on those. Bunch of different variations that you get, a bunch of different options. Real quick on the different interfaces. So for the Predator and Viking, lightly press for momentary, click it all the way for constant on, loosen the head, and you have some other outputs. You can just lightly press, turn it off and on to cycle between those. See all those different outputs. And then tighten the head to get back into that max output. And then on the Predator Pro and Viking Pro, you have the line 1 and line 2 outputs. So with the head tightened, if you loosen and tighten, it'll cycle between your different outputs. You still have the same momentary, and then click for the constant on. And then if you loosen the head, you have the other outputs. And then you tighten and loosen, it'll switch between that super low output and then the strobe. And you got memory on all that as well. So pretty cool interface. Ton of different variations that you have. So lots of different options that you can get. Lots of different accessories that you can get. So they make pressure switches. You can get weapon mounts for these. They have filters for them. You have a lot of different variability that you can get in all these different lights. A lot of different options. A lot of customization that you can do. So it's a pretty cool set of lights. Really cool finish on them. And really impressive circuitry in these. So we're going to take the Predator Pro and we're going to take the Viking Pro outside, and we'll show you how they do outside. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're outside with the Armytek Predator Pro and Viking Pro. Got the big 40 mag light that I always use as a baseline, since pretty much everybody's familiar with that guy. Let's go and try it out first. Dock house down there, about 100 feet away on the lake. Go and shine it around, show you the bushes and trees and all that kind of stuff. Okay, let's try out the Armytek, and we're going to do the Predator Pro first. So there you can see how concentrated the beam is on this thing. Super concentrated beam, amazing throw for a light this size. We'll show you better here in a little while the kind of distances it can do. But you can see how well, 100 feet away, everything's lit up really, really well. Obviously you can do much further than that when you need it to. And show you the different output levels. There's the low, great for up close kind of stuff. You can see it still lights things up. 15-20 feet away really, really well. Then your medium, and then your high. Okay, let's try out the Viking. So there's the Viking. Definitely a different beam on that. Much wider hotspot. So the hotspot's the bright part in the center of the beam, and then the spill is the dimmer part around it. Good transition from one to the other, but a wider hotspot, more lumens coming out of this thing. You're not going to get quite the same distance, but I still find it very useful. I tend to go for the wider hotspot kind of stuff because I like lighting up more stuff at once instead of doing the distance. Show you the different levels on that guy. There's the low. Again, up close kind of stuff is perfect for that. And there's your medium and your high. Let's zoom in just so you can see that a little bit better. See how well everything's lit up down there. Okay, let's do them side by side. So we'll have the Viking Pro on the left, Predator Pro on the right. That should show you the difference pretty well in the beam patterns. Kind of shine them around a little bit. But just a whole lot more focused beam on the Predator Pro versus the Viking Pro. Got a smaller LED, and that makes all the difference in the world. Okay, let's try these guys out at a longer distance to show you how they do. Okay, we got some more distance to work with the Predator Pro and Viking Pro. Let's go ahead and try out the Predator Pro first. Show you how super concentrated that beam is. So I got the targets that I use. They're just Halloween decorations. I always use them in the long distance videos. First one's out there at 50 yards. Second one's out there at 100 yards. Tree line beyond is out at 130 yards. You can see it does all three of those extremely well. This light can go much further than that. So shine that around a little bit. Zoom back out and show you, even on the lower levels, still has pretty great throw. So lowest output, you can kind of see it goes to the stuff right in front of me. It's pretty low. It's not meant to do any great distance. Then even on the medium, it's making out to that first and second one and the tree line really well. And then the max output, of course, it does all three really well. It's still nice and bright spill. Boat over here is about 20 feet away. Lights that up really well and a lot further beyond. You can see when I kind of shine it up, even makes it out to that first target, not too bad. Okay, let's try out the Viking Pro. So there's the Viking Pro. This longer distance better illustrates the wider beam on this thing. I know you can see it pretty well when I was shining it at the dock house, but at this kind of distance you can see it even better. So still makes it out to all three of those areas really, really well. It's longer distances than this where the Predator Pro is really going to shine. Let's do them side by side. So we'll have the Predator Pro on the left, Viking Pro on the right, kind of shining back and forth. So you can really see how much more concentrated that beam is on the Predator versus the Viking. Okay, so that is the Armytek Predator Pro and Viking Pro. If you like them, you can buy them from us at goinggear.com. Any questions or comments, you can reach me in the comments or at goinggear.com. And if you liked the video, be sure to subscribe. I put out a lot of gear and flashlight videos. Thanks for watching.